can't do this.
If they was doing it because they think I don't have a chance to win, they want to dog me out. So they got rid of you. And you stay here.
They got rid of me.
But you know,
Wait,
I was in the game. I'm not going to give up. But it wasn't fair. And that before they saw that was not nice. I don't care what you say. You belong in here just like everybody else.
Let me talk now.
Okay, go ahead.
Listen to me. The only reason that I'm up against you, and I want the world to know, is because I wouldn't vote against you.
I know.
And I couldn't do that because you're my friend.
You're my friend.
And I hope you make it to the end. You take up with
I'm going to work as hard as I can. But what
you got my strength, I'm telling you. And you know money don't mean anything to me.
And it doesn't mean anything. I'm not going to sell my soul to the devil because they sold their soul to the devil.
Yeah. Anybody else confused? Yeah, she's insane, right? Yeah, she's nuts. All right, well, welcome back to my Big Brother 2 episode reviews. We're now on episode 19 of the Big Brother 2 series. This is the kind of a monumental episode in one regard because it's the beginning of something that is still done all the way up until the current day. And that is, it's the first episode that featured a live eviction in Big Brother history. And I got to say, I like these a lot better. I mean, the way they had done the evictions previously in Big Brother 2 would just, the diary room can kind of confessions as to why they're voting the way they're voting is fine. But it feels more personal this way. Also, the old way or the way they had done it previously in the season, oftentimes there was certain people you didn't even hear their vote. They wouldn't always show everyone's, and then certain people you wouldn't get, their full confessional as to why they voted the way they voted. So this way I prefer much better. And obviously, BB really picks up on the fact that this is the way to go in the future. And I want to say they don't do it all the time, but obviously, ultimately, this becomes the standard, and this becomes the way they vote routinely on the show. And I think that's better off for the show. So we get that kind of first and foremost. Julie announces that right at the start of the episode. Then we had a really, really good segment on the episode. Basically, it's a situation where, the power struggle for Nicole continues between Hardy, between Will. And it's been going on for a few episodes. I've discussed it previously in past episode reviews. Ultimately, this episode, you got Krista and Monica on the block. Krista's obviously the target for the majority of the voters. And Nicole does not want Krista to know. It's supposed to be kind of a secret, kind of keep her in the dark concerning the fact that she is the target. Ultimately, though, Krista finds out. Krista ultimately knows, that she's going to be most likely going home this week. At which point, Hardy and Nicole and all them are kind of confused as to why does Krista know this? How did she find this out? Hardy goes to Nicole and basically tells her, he doesn't necessarily say that he knows Will did it, but he says he believes Will did it. He believes that Will is the one that went to Krista. And Nicole perceives that as being Will just attempting to try to be the nice guy, which is ironic because Will obviously has been considered the opposite of the nice guy throughout the entirety of the season. But there you go with Will, trying to put a little bit of a sword into, the Will's back without really any evidence, just purely speculation. And then you have Will's response to it, where Will goes to Nicole. Again, Hardy's not around, so it's just Will and Nicole. And what does he basically say? He basically says that Hardy and him had a conversation previously. He doesn't indicate when the conversation took place, but you're led to believe that it was recently. And Will tells Nicole that Hardy ultimately told him that his goal is to get to the finals against someone he can beat, i.e. Will. So that is, Will is basically telling Nicole that you think Hardy is so close to you, but if it comes down to a final 3 with you 3, basically Will's telling Nicole, look, Hardy told me he will take me to the finals over you because he can beat me. He knows he probably can't beat you, which is wrong. Hardy would beat both of them. But that's just a lie from Will. Hardy's was not really a lie. It was more just, speculation. Putting that thought potentially in her mind. Will is straight up saying Hardy said something that he didn't say. But again, Will does it in a really good way. Again, the early season editing, you don't necessarily see if Nicole completely believes him. I do believe Nicole is a little closer to Hardy, So chances are she doesn't believe everything he says. It's hard to tell, though, because the editing is not great, particularly with the power struggle of these three. There's certain things Will says, and you don't really get Nicole's reaction to it. But there was a previous episode where Nicole says she believes, Will has been 100% honest with her, which to me doesn't make sense, because if in her mind, Will has been 100% honest to her, and Will has told her that Hardy would evict her, if Nicole is completely believing Will, wouldn't that mean she'd have some distrust with Hardy? You would think, but we haven't had any clarification from Nicole that she has any distrust with Hardy. So it's kind of a mind fuck as to what everyone really thinks. Outside of Will, we know what he thinks. But I thought this was a really good segment. Again, it really, really, really shows the power struggle for Nicole, for Hardy, and particularly Will. And I thought it was a really good segment. Then we had, again, the Noms family segment where you see Monica's family and you see Krista's brother, I think it was. And I got to say, the only thing I took, because these segments suck, the only thing I took away from this segment was Monica's sister. I got to say, she's sane. She's not insane like her sister. I preferred her sister much better. I think her name was Melanie. I could be wrong about that, but I think it was. I'm pretty sure it started with an M. But Melanie, you are so much better than Monica. I wish you'd been in the house. But yeah, that segment sucked. Outside of the fact that we found out that everyone in Monica's family is not insane. But then we have basically a segment with the house guests. And they're going around basically saying what they'll do with the money. Ultimately, what I took away from this segment is there's only two house guests that are being honest with America, us, and being, just honest in general with themselves. Because you got Will and Nicole who are honest. They say, for the most part, the money will go towards them. Will in particular, Will's like, I'm going to buy chains, gold chains, jet skis. I'm going to buy all these cool looking things, which is what Will would probably do. And Nicole says that she would renovate the house, go on a trip with her and her husband, like stuff she would really do. But then you go to Krista, who's like just totally lost her minus point. She's over here telling me she's going to give the money to some random homeless guy, or some of the money to some random homeless guy from her hometown. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to win $500,000, put all the work into winning $500,000, and I'm going to give this money to some random homeless guy who I don't know, for who all I know would rob me if he had the chance. Like, she didn't say she'd give all the money, but like, that's such a lie. It's literally only said on her part to try to look good to America. Like, there's no way that if that's what she'll do with a good chunk of her money, then she's stupid. And I don't think she's stupid necessarily. I think she's just trying to look good to America. Hardy says he'll buy his brother a Harley. And Bunky says, I don't know what the fuck he says, something dumb. But they're all basically saying they're going to give money to these other people. And I'm not saying, like, for instance, Hardy. He really may, if he won or wins the show, there is a good chance maybe he would buy his brother a Harley. It's possible. But I want to hear what you're going to buy yourself. The reason he just says that is because he just wants to look good. Like, maybe if he had said, well, I'm going to go buy myself this and pay for this for myself and whatnot, and then ultimately said, yeah, and then if there's some money left over, I'll probably get my brother a Harley because I think he'd really appreciate that. I could respect that. But when you're just sitting there and I'm going to buy my family member this, I'm going to buy the homeless guy this, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? What are you going to buy yourself? Nothing? You're not doing any of this for yourself, huh? We're reverting back to old Hardy where he's here for other people. We found out that was a lie. Ultimately, if he won the show, we'd find out that, the Harley wasn't at the top of his priority list for his brother. At the top of his priority list is what he can get himself, because he's human, and that's how most humans are. Then we had a segment on Nicole, basically how powerful she's become in the house. Going back to week 1 when she was the original enemy, she was on the block the first week. She was the original target. And then you basically have how all the house guests have really have really started to, in some ways, like her, but in a lot of ways fear her. They really view her as the ultimate player in the house. They view her as a good way to phrase it, like the alpha queen. I think that's what Will called her. Ultimately, Will has said from the beginning he was afraid of her. You got Bunky in the diary room, says basically he's a puppet for Nicole, that he is almost in a way forced to vote how she wants. And I really think I like Nicole. I mean, she's not my favorite by any means. That's obviously Will, but she's definitely one of my favorites in the house, and she's definitely one of the better players in the house. Again, she has really good self-awareness, and she adapted throughout the game, and I think that's a really like powerful thing to watch. Then we had the live vote begins. You got Bunky, who, let me tell you, I'm sure you've seen this episode, and you'll never forget Bunky. It's the most awkward and bizarre vote cast in Big Brother history. He goes in there, and this dude is just, oh my God. Like, he's literally like having a panic attack in the DR about having to vote out Krista. And I gotta say, it's hard to tell how much is fake, how much is real, but if it's fake, he's a hell of an actor. Bunky, he's definitely a compassionate person, which, I mean, that's really, I mean, a good thing, but it's just so overdone. Like, I don't really think he was acting, but it just is ridiculous. Like, it makes him look, yes, he's nice, but it makes him look silly. Like, I can't, at 90% of people watching this, particularly people watching this for the first time, it's almost impossible to either be one, laughing, or two, just looking at the screen like, what the fuck is going on here? It's like your reaction is going to be one of those two things, depending on which kind of person you are. So again, I like Bunky. I think he's sincere, and I think he's a really good-hearted person, but holy smokes, this was overdone. It just looked ridiculous. Then we have Will. He's in the, you have Hardy next, and he's all serious per the standard. But then Will gets in there, and he has a really great line in the DR. Basically, he says, to speak your mind in this house is to dig your own grave. And I thought that was a really good, along the lines of all the other great Will quotes. It was right up there. It was a really good one. And just, again, Will comes across, he got Bunky in there, just insufferably exhausting and despicable and gross to watch. And you got Will, who just, he's so leaps and bounds, above everyone else in this house. And he just simply takes it for what it is. This is a game. And this is probably, honestly, the most emotional you ever see him. Part of it, I think, is acting. But you can tell to a degree, he doesn't feel great about what, having to vote out Krista. And he doesn't feel great about telling Bunky or Boogie that he was going to have her back and then not ultimately doing it. But it's still a game to him. He's not going to the diary room and acting like that. It's ridiculous. Hardy obviously, is a manly man. He's not going to go in the DR like Bunky and cry like that. But Hardy, does ultimately at one point in this episode say, doesn't really say, but he talks about, well, even if I wanted to leave, like, I hate this game, and even if I wanted to leave, I can't, because I can't afford to give away all the money that I would get. Because obviously, whether you win the game or not, you get money for how long you're in the house, kind of like a check. And if you quit or get expelled, and like how Justin did, you don't receive the money. So I don't like that Hardy's so affected by this. He's talking about how he hates the game and, he wishes he could leave. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. But Will's the only one that, outside of maybe Nicole, that just takes it as a game. It is what it is. It is a game. That's it. And it's not a surprise. The two that take it that way are the two that do really well. Then at the end, you have, the episode ends with Krista leaving. She only allows Monica and Will to come over to talk, to the door, walk her to the door, whatever the case may be. And mostly she berates Will and says how he didn't do what he had told Boogie he was going to do. But she does say she won't hold it against him come if he's in the finals. Basically saying, I will give you the vote if you're in the finals. You can trust me on that. Then you have Monica, who you saw in the intro, has an absolute fucking breakdown. Just, oh my God. But what I kind of wanted to talk about here was, obviously in previous episodes, for instance, Bunky and Kent, I talked about how, I thought it was wrong that Bunky didn't give Kent the vote to stay. Even though Kent was going to leave, I thought it was dumb on Bunky's part that he didn't vote in Kent's favor, because I thought ultimately it would look bad for him from the rest of the house, and it would be really obvious why he voted the way he did, and it would show that it would put some doubt in people's minds how loyal he is. The reason I thought Will voting out Krista was good, I thought Will voting out Krista in this episode was smart on his part, and some people would say, well, you're contradicting yourself, and really I'm not, because Will and Krista, yes, they were friends. So in a way, it's the same in regards to that. But the difference is, in this instance, Will has also got this alliance with Nicole, who is HOH, who did put up who did put up Krista and wanted Will to vote out Krista. So yes, Will is friends with Krista. So he could have, obviously he wanted to and could have casted a vote for her to stay. But then he pisses off not just some random HOH in the house who wants him out anyways. You're literally not doing what the HOH, who you are aligned with, you're not doing what that person wants you to do. And again, on top of that, you got the power struggle that's been going on between Hardy and Will. And if Will votes out Krista while Hardy does what Nicole wants, that's going to completely tip the scales into Hardy's favor. And obviously at this point, Will is trying to make sure he is closer to Nicole than Hardy and Nicole are. So obviously this is what he had to do in this situation. He all but says that. He says if he doesn't do it, if he doesn't vote the way he was told to by Nicole, ultimately he'd be gone next week, most likely. And so that is why I think the Will vote is different than the Bunky vote from a couple weeks ago. But all in all, this was a pretty good episode. Definitely wasn't one of the best, but it definitely wasn't one of the worst. I enjoyed it. I'm excited to see who wins HOH for the following episode. God, I hope it's not Hardy, or obviously Nicole can't compete, but I hope it's not Hardy. I'd like to see either Bunky or Will win, but we know Will doesn't really like to win comps, so who knows if he really could. So go Bunky. But thanks for checking in, guys. I'll be back for my episode 20 review shortly. Appreciate you guys watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm out.